Alrighty. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Hope you all can hear me. It looks like I'm getting audio, so it's a good thing. Excited to be here. April. So not April. This is May. May the 18th. Got a lot going on. A lot of great things out here in store, and just really glad to be here. So with that short intro, I'm going to jump right in because we got a lot to show you, a lot to share, and a lot of fun stuff that's exciting that's out here. For most of y'all that don't know, my name is Eric Harris, Tech Partner Evangelist here at Nintex. I am been here for a while, but the fun part about that is that I've also worked with Nintex. I've been working with Nintex for about 8 years now, actually. So had a lot of fun doing a lot of different things with Nintex, building a whole lot of solutions and things, and really excited to just be interacting and interfacing with you all and trying to help solve problems from the community, etc., or answer questions from the community. And that's one of the things that I wanted to start off with today is some of the questions from the community. So let's jump right on in. I need to configure my screen. I'm trying to figure out there's some things that have changed within the Google Hangout, and I'm trying to figure out what they are and why. So give me a second. Just trying to figure out what is going on. All right, and why this thing is not working. I thought it would, but maybe that's just me. See if this changes anything. Don't see it, so not sure what that is, but let's see if we can get my screen going and mute my phone. Go from here. And we have some people trying to join us. Ha. Alrighty, so let's share screens. Screen 2 looks like that's the right one. And present to everyone, and let's get rolling. All right, so one of the first things I went through this morning, we're looking at Intext Forms. Is really the crux of it today, and what Intext Forms is. But before I do that, I wanted to answer a question. So one of the things is around Nintex Style Guide. Saw this question, and I wanted to address it because I thought it was a pretty good question about using, a style guide, how to, what's the preferred way to do workflow variables, workflow names, form controls, etc. And I thought this is something that's pretty cool when we have in the community, we have people that are answering or talking or discussing about certain things. When you see those things, just like, wow, this is great. This is what it's meant for. This is how we should do it. There is no one way to do this, and that's something I wanted to address to Stefan. I'm assuming I said that right, Stefan Hasselberg. There's no one way to do it. The biggest thing that I will say, the biggest mantra on this that I will say is do it. Do something and stick to what you do. So if you're using camel case, then use camel case. If you're using snake case, as they say, I haven't heard that one before, but if you're using snake case, then use snake case. If you're using, man, I forgot some of the other cases out there, Pascal case, then use Pascal case. But the biggest piece of that is to simply do it. Use a case and stick with it so that whenever you're updating something, you know what it is. When someone else is looking at it, they can quickly identify the method and follow it, etc. So do it. More than anything, there isn't a one way that works, right? It takes you don't even have to use a case, but as a developer, as someone that's designing and using something that other people will potentially see and use, ideally you want to keep something consistent. I know that I've gone in between Pascal. I've done between Pascal and camel case. I've done the difference between the two. I've also done prefix variables for like variable v or txt for text, lbl for label, etc. So using that as kind of a delimiter as well. But again, the idea on that is to simply do it. And when you do it, then it's beneficial because other people can identify it and see it and use it. So I hope that addresses it. I'm going to actually add this as a simple note. Just do something because that is ideally what it is. We really want people to literally do something. Alrighty, so before I continue, I want to actually come back to here. This is a page that a lot of people don't look at or possibly look at. It's the unanswered space. Oh my God, the unanswered question space. There's tons of questions, and these questions change depending on when they get answered. When they don't get answered, they change, and they show up here. This is a place where I go to quickly see a lot of questions that are out there and how we could potentially answer them, or things that I can address inside of the Hangout. So this is something that is interesting. I'm actually going to click on this one because I just seen it. But this is something that if you're out here, you have a question, come out here and see if someone else has asked the question first and piggyback on it. You can simply, and you'll actually see this, I have the same question here. That is something you can do, and then that will obviously prompt for that. So these are things that I really would hope that people do. Within when they're searching or looking for things, and that hopefully helps with getting people in or getting people to uh, use the community correctly, use questions, be able to mark, hey, this was helpful, so you can simply mark as helpful, etc. So with that being said, I'm going to get off my high horse of uh, chatting about how to use the community, and hopefully people get that done. So let's look at the next question. Actually, before we go into the next question, I had someone, let's see if I can find it. There was a question asked. Aha, here. Daniel asked a question about, just getting started with Nintex Forms and workflow. And he's using Office 365, so I'm going to actually jump out to my 365 tenant. I'm going to get in here really quick, but it's I wanted to do a quick tutorial of it so that he and any others can actually learn a little bit about Nintex as we run, as it works, etc. So let's read this question first. So this question says, I'm trialing Nintex Forms and workflow, created my first form 365 team site library. Great, existing columns. Now wants to make some changes, create a new column, insert a new row on the form with the appropriate label, allow metadata selection on the metadata columns, and configure the people picker. There are some docs and training videos and stuff out there, but hey, why not? I can do it with the my Hangout, so why not? All right, so to confirm, I believe he said a standard list, so I'll do a list and a document. They're both about the same. And so just to show you that I'm not pulling any tricks, I'll create one and I'll call it, this is a custom list, and I'll call it Hangout B, Daniel, just to show that I'm really doing this from scratch. So here's my new list here. So I've already, the forms and the workflow are already pre-installed and actually selected, so don't have to do that. But it comes in with nothing. I'm going to add a couple of columns here. So I'm going to add a date column, and that's for the date of the Hangout. I'm going to add notes, and I'm actually, here's a really cool thing. I did this before. I'm going to add one of each type of column. So notes column, multi-field. Let's see here. Add people. So I'm going to add an attendee here. Let's see, what else can I add here? I can even do a lookup. And let's see what I do a lookup for. Product list, just grab something random. I have no idea what I'm grabbing out here, quantity. And we'll do a lookup, product lookup. So just an example of things. I'm doing this from SharePoint. So there's two different ways to do this. You can do this from SharePoint, or you can do this from the Nintex form workflow, the form designer. So I added those from SharePoint. Now we're going to open up forms, and I'm going to add a couple of more from forms and the forms designer. And the idea about that, or the reason for doing both ways, is to show you that you can actually be outside of the form designer, create them, and then you come here and it actually pre-populates. I like this approach better because it's already there. Or you can create something from within the designer and then drag it on. Again, I like the create it and then let it auto populate. I like this approach better because it comes kind of pre-formatted with CSS, etc. So, and I believe that is correct because it should have it applied. I meant formatting. Yep, so it comes with the CSS styles already applied. Basic stuff, but if you aren't, wanting to get into all the other stuff, if you want to just really kind of get in and go, I would recommend kind of creating them from SharePoint first and then coming here. But again, you can do that from here. We're invoking the same things here, so we're actually pulling it in from SharePoint. We're using that. So let's see here. What else can we do? Um, let's do a hyperlink, and the hyperlink would be the Hangout link. See, am I missing anything? We'll do a yes, no checkbox as well. So I'm doing this again from the designer now, and you'll notice something that's a little different. Yes, no, oops, actually, was it awesome? Why not? And then we'll do this as a yes, no here. Alrighty, was it awesome? And Daniel, I hope you're watching. If you are, you can type in some notes or anything and let me know, and um, or ask questions if you have any, and we can definitely get those answered for you. So excited to have you on here and anyone else that's watching as well. I know Raphael and I believe Carolyn are both probably enjoying their dinners now, but watching it also. All right, so back to this. One of the things that you'll know, so we had this form, we created a list, and remember inside of SharePoint, we created the date, notes, attendee, and product lookup. Attachments came over as standard. But we just added two more columns. And if you want to look at it, we added, was it awesome? And we added Hangout link. We added these from the designer and they're not here. So there's two ways that we can do this. I'll show you both. The easiest way, and I like to do it this way. It doesn't mean it's the best way or whatever, but I like to do it this way is I like to change the grid cell and height, the grid cell heights and widths. And the reason why I like to do that is it gives me a little bit more room to play. I also like to expand, and actually in my book, I have wrote the Nintex book on getting from 0 to 60. It talks about coming in here and setting these properties to give yourself some wiggle room to move around and maneuver with. You can also snap the grid, not snap the grid. I like to leave that alone because it just makes it easier. So as you can tell, I just gave myself a little bit more of a playroom to do with this, and I'll actually drag this out really quick. Um, so the easiest thing to do is if you added it from the designer, you have form controls that are from the designer. The easiest thing to do is drag and drop. It's one of the staple things that we do here in Nintex, drag and drop, and you have that now available there. But you want labels to come with it. Obviously, that makes sense. That's one of the things that should be there. But it's not as intuitive. You can do two different things. I'm going to show you this way. You just grab a label and you drag it on, and that's doable. And you'll notice that the properties on the right-hand side starts changing based on what I have selected. I can actually type in, so this product look, I can actually type in here, Hangout hyperlink. Hangout link is what I wanted to call it, Hangout link. And it is not associated with anything, so I'm associated with something, and then I'm going to leave that alone. So there, but it's the formatting is not the same. So here's some other tricks to the trade that's really nice. I can actually grab this format painter, and so I've selected this, say grab the format of this and apply it here, click, and voila, it is applied. So that's something to just be mindful of as well as you're looking at it. So that's pretty cool. And this is, likewise on this. So let's make this a little bit bigger. And let's just suspend this over as well. So the formatting, just in case it's not quite the same, do that. So now it kind of centers that along. That's kind of cool, right? You think that's really great. It's really easy. Not too much involved. So was it awesome? Yes, that should be a default yes. I'm actually going to default that to yes. Um, let's grab this and bring this over. So was it awesome? I'm going to see here, formatting appearance. I'm going to go more settings, and default value source is going to be that. I'm going to see if I can do this. Can I do this? I should be able to do that. Visible, visible, advanced. What am I looking for? I want to default it. Oh, I have to default it from SharePoint. I could do it here too. Yeah, I could do it that to yes. So I'll do it there. So default to yes. And here's a really cool thing that I wanted to show. I'm going to grab another label that's already there, and I'm going to simply copy and paste it. Why did I do that? Well, I didn't feel like grabbing another label and dragging it on, doing all this other stuff. It already has formatting there. I just want to replace it and say this is, was it awesome? And the other thing, remember to reassociate your columns correctly. The association is very key. I want to actually show that as well. It's a lot that you can do. I'm going to save this and I'm going to show the association. So I'm going to actually, this is probably not going to work because that usually doesn't work. I'm going to close. I didn't publish it, so I just saved it though, and I'm going to close it. And I'm going to open up another tab so I can have both of these open for you. So I'm gonna go back into forms. But here, the reason why the association is important. Oh, so by the way, one thing I want to point out is that remember I created these in the designer. They're showing up here as well. But the associations are important because if you, for example, have something that's required, so I'm going to have this required. I can't have it required because it's set to default. Awesome. How awesome is that? I'm going to require this field. There we go. And I'm gonna go back. I thought I should be able to require that. That's not interesting. I cannot require that because it has a default value of yes. That is, did not know that. Uh, Learn something new every day, right? And I'm going to require these fields here, required. All right, so what I've done is you can see I now have 3 fields that are required. Um, Here, so I did that outside of here. I can preview, and because they're associated, it will show, it should show the required fields. Let's just see if I did that actually, did that correctly. Where is it? So product lookup is not showing as required. I may have to close out and open it back up. Alrighty, so much fun when you're working with products. Awesome. So here, really quick, if I go to preview again, it should show me this. There we go. All right, so it shows attendee and hyperlink. That's what those are the 3. So again, this is from the association point of view. So what if I actually did not associate this correctly and I wanted to associate it with title? You see what it did? It changed title. Not cool. I can change this. Was it awesome? And it will do that, but it's actually still associated with title because of the associated control. So it does change that. Notice it doesn't change this, but let's see if my theory serves correctly and what will happen to this label. I think, oh, it did. It pulls whatever the requirements are for that field and associates it with the label. Kind of good, kind of bad, right? So something to be aware of, and be mindful of is make sure that your labels are associated correctly with each item or each form control, so that if you're setting anything in the list value or the list area, it is replicating itself correctly. So what I did is I showed you how you can actually pull these in. It's just a matter of moving, managing the form as is. It's a designer. You can kind of drag and drop and do that. So I made that default. I want to do some other things here as well. So let's see here. I'm gonna move this around a little bit. Why not? So I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna bring this up here. Was it awesome? And then if it was awesome, I want to give myself the room to write some notes. So I'm going to actually manipulate this a little bit more, bring a panel in. You don't have to use panels, but panels are always recommended when you're doing any type of rules or validation because it allows you to actually manage all of the field controls within that panel without having to write separate rules. So I created a panel here. I'm going to name my panel show notes. Why? Because show notes is awesome. Everything's awesome, right? All right, so show notes, and I'm going to add a rule. And so my rule on show notes, so I'm going to apply the rule to the to the panel that's going to accept or take whatever the rules and validations are. And after this, I'm going to go into a very quick sneak peek at something that is really interesting. So bear with me if you're watching for the sneak peek or the preview of whatever. Um, so let's get this one going. So all right, so we're gonna hide Actually, we're going to show notes. Let's just show notes again, and we're going to do this hide and make this a really simple rule. We're going to go to the named controls, and I'm going to say if was it awesome is not equal to 1. And we're doing not equal to 1 because it's a yes no value, but yes no values are always translated to 1 and 0. If it's not equal to 1, hide. Actually, yep, that'll be fine. Here's a really interesting thing. We're going to have to change that because that's by default. It's going to always be true. So let's modify the settings really quick. I'm going to not have a specified value here. Save. And I want to change the formatting on that because I wanted that to be centered. There we go. All right, so let's see if I'm good at what I know what I'm doing. All right, so ideally we said if what is awesome is not checked, if it's checked, then show notes. Oh, I forgot something. Here's something else to know as well about the multi-select field or the multi-text field. Um, so multi-text field, if you have it set to enriched, or if you have it set to anything outside of plain text, it will try to load that in, and it looks really wonky. So I'm going to actually change this. It may not pick up until I um, refresh that, but I usually use when I'm doing forms, unless I absolutely have to and I create room for it, I usually use plain text to keep that simple. Hopefully that makes sense for everyone that was watching that. But let's go back to preview really quick and see what we did with that. So we're previewing this, and this is just the basis of using the Intext Forms, right? So we're looking at the rule set. I know that didn't change. That'll change when I upload it again. But so here we have, was it awesome? If it's not awesome, then don't give me any notes. If it is awesome, give me some more notes. Show me notes. So I'm basically doing a basic show and hide filter based on the selection of that. And remember, I did the 1 for that, or using 1 and 0 for yes and no, and not using yes and no values. I actually wonder if yes and no will actually work. I'm not sure. Haven't done that one before. I usually do the 1 and 0 because I know that's the binary of it. But let's see if that actually works. So yes and no doesn't work indeed. So that's actually good to know. So you do need to use the 1 or the 0 for that. So I'm going to change that to 0, and just to make sure that does work. So really quickly, do this. See if this thing works. See, it works. Good deal. All right, so that's just the basis of using Intext Forms and just running through again some of the things. Just drag and drop. You can move things around as necessary. Use panels to hide. You can drag other things on there that you didn't have before at all, and you can create things. If you do, just be mindful that if it's not connected, it won't show up. You can build as much as you want into the form and not connect them at all, but you may want a way to track that, because this unlike InfoPath or some other form products, it doesn't, you have XML that is there. You just need to be able to pull that XML and use that. So those are things that can be done. All right. That was fun. I hope that helped, Daniel. I can go into a lot more depth about it, but I hope that helped as far as just a basic overview. Oh, and one more thing: when you finish with all your workings, publish. So save often and publish when you're finished, and that'll allow you to see the form live and in action when you actually are wanting to use it inside of SharePoint or Office 365, etc. So you can actually see the form working as it should here. You can save and submit, etc. So with that being said, I'll upload the snippet of that. I'll grab the time frame and actually upload that here so you can have that as a reference, Daniel, as well as anyone else that is looking at that. So I have something that is really near and dear to my heart. Actually, it's near and dear because I've been working on it for a very long time. But I want to give people a sneak peek at the Exchange. And the reason why I want to do that is to kind of pique everybody's interest and actually just kind of walk through some of this really quick to show people what it is. This is super exciting. Let me see, where's my Hangout thing really quick. just want to talk about it really quick. So the exchange, what it is for people that have not been watching, have not been kind of keeping up with a lot of the news, the exchange essentially was an idea that came back a while ago. Several people, both internally and externally in Intex, were thinking about it from the community aspect of, creating the central area, the central gallery or catalog of, and it started around UDAs. UDAs is something that is called user-defined action. So it's inside of it's an action that contains other actions that you can actually reuse. I can create a UDA, package it up, and send it, and you have the ability to import that into your own SharePoint farm and then run that in this repetitive actions that can be used. Very great, very useful. And it was like, well, if I create a UDA, I want someone else to see it, etc. And there's people create blogs, and some of our TEs, tech evangelists, have lots of UDAs. There's one guy who's created tons of UDAs. I think over 50 or 60 UDAs he's created, that are very useful, and a lot of them do very specific things, but they're all spread out. And so the idea of the exchange was to kind of call them all home. So we're like Moses, like collecting everything into the ark per se. But hey, that's actually a really good analogy. We're collecting all our assets into the ark for Nintex users to go to one place to see. So it's like a marketplace, or rather like Nintex, like a what is the word? Just Amazon. So Nintex Amazon-like experience is where we're going for in the end. So we're starting that process. But with this, the exchange is to basically give everybody a centralization of that, so you can actually look at, all right, what is available, what have people created. I've created workflows that done this. I've created a form that does this. Export it. And one of the things that I will say, and I'll show you that you have the ability to import and export outside of our product. So workflow and forms can be done that way. So you can actually generate a logic or a design, a workflow design, for example, that it pulls in information and assigns a reviewer to a document, and then it sends that document off for approval and a signature via DocuSign or eSign or something like that. That's a simple process that someone could say, hey, I like that, but I don't really need the e-signature piece, but I want something that does, grab a document and assign an approver to it. How does that work? So with that, the idea of the exchange was to present those things, and we're calling those assets, so that other users can find them. So without further ado, and without talking too much about it, let's take a really quick sneak peek. This is actually kind of fun. I'm hoping I can do this, at the exchange really quick for people that are out there in the community, for you to see what it is, kind of the direction where we're heading, and then also what'll be coming live really soon. So hope everybody's ready, because I'm ready to share my screen. All right, cool. So quick, and I'll take it down now. So the exchange, what it'll look like. This is what it will look like. It allows us to kind of showcase different assets that are out there and available, that are presented by customers, by partners, by developers, people at customers. If you're a user, you've used Nintex before, and you have something out there, you can create it. You'll see that it has connectors, custom code, regex expressions, inline functions, workflow templates, user-defined actions, UDAs, solutions, etc. All these are available, and these are things that you can actually quickly go to and find. I'll actually point out a couple of them really quick. So one, here's Replace Text Regex by Vadim. He's one of our technical evangelists here in Intex, and it's just how to use the regex expression. So you can actually see, here's a regex expression, here's information about it. I can actually click to find out more. He wrote a blog on it, so I can do that. And basically the point of this is to allow you to use, here's the format pattern, replace text, replacing it, and it'll actually target and replace certain text. What you can also do with this is really great, is I can say, hey, you know what, this is really cool. Man, that was great. I'm going to rate this. Oh, I can actually write a review about it. That's really cool. This is why I think this is great, and do things like that. It's actually really helpful to do that. You can add comments, ask questions about it. Hey, I saw this. Can you do this and that and the other with it? So those are some things as well. It has a profile, let you know kind of who the author is. I actually helped him create this one. Any dependencies, it shows you which products are compatible with it, so it can be used on workflow for 2010, 2013, or 365, and also SharePoint Server 2010, so it's available across them. You can like it, you can bookmark it, you can share it with some other people. You can also follow it. If they make updates to it, you'll learn about that as well. And one of the really big things that I will say is it also we're also putting out here a terms of use policy. So mind you, these aren't things that Nintex, the company, the product is actually developing. These are things that are done by people in the community. So we want you to understand that they are, by nature of uploading or creating these things, they are basically saying, you know what, I like this, I created it, I'm going to support it as well. And this is not something that you would necessarily call support for. You would not call support for. These are not supportable assets by Nintex, but they're supported by the Nintex community. And this is very similar if a lot of people using Microsoft products will use Coplex, or you use Stack Overflow, or some of the other kind of platform communities. This is a very similar thing of showing that, hey, here's expertise in certain areas, and this is what they're doing. I really like this one by Patrick at Summit 7, one of our Nintex partners, created something that's really cool, tab-based layout solution for Nintex Forms. Something that is really useful because, I mean, I've even had to do this internally as well and use this on several projects. They're wanting tabs, and the tabs give you the ability to kind of show different pieces of data or form controls at different tabs for people to click through, so it's not a very long form. You kind of make it something that's short and concise. And so he gives you this very detailed, here's the CSS that you use to do some of the things, here's some of the tabs, etc. And then he gives you this nice kind of walkthrough to show you how to customize or build that and how the tabs work. The next piece of that is he also gives you the form information that goes along with it as well, and that's something that's definitely helpful. I would definitely rate this one, and it's tagged accordingly as well. Actually, let's just write a review about it while we're here. um, uh, Great asset, and definitely something we needed. One second, what is this? Okay, something we needed. I use this for an internal project. Internal project. Keep up the good work. Oh, this is just showing how do we do this. Add the comment to that. And one of the things about it is that we want this because now if another user sees this, obviously I have some credibility in the community, and another user sees this, they're not gonna be like, oh, really? This is good, and Eric thinks it's good. Let me use this as well. So that's one of the reasons why we want to do that. But then also it helps to surface things in the popular category so that it actually shows up as, oh, this is something that a lot of people are using. So with that being said, some of the other things about it, again, you can sort by horizontal workload, custom actions again. Oh, I didn't actually tag that. Custom code. We don't have any custom actions in at the moment, but custom code shows you everything, all the custom code that's available. Start workflow with PowerShell. That's interesting. Dynamic image change, so being able to change an image on a form. These are some really cool ones. Using SharePoint REST in Forms, so how do you actually pull and push data with REST? Embedding the signature pad. Those are actually some really interesting things. Let's see what solutions. So here's a couple solutions. A parent-child relationship solution. That's actually one I created. I'm proud of that one. So these are things that you can go out and find, and then also being able to tag things by, for example, industry. I want to do some things that are referenced or used for finances, for example, things that may help me if I'm doing something with finance. A free quote template, for example, if I'm doing something within Salesforce. There's an example of something, Salesforce in finances. Hey, what do you know about that? What else is in Salesforce? So you have these examples. You can also sort by platform. I want to look for something that's in Office 365. All right, so Office 365 in finance. Hey, these are some assets that are available for me to use based on that. These aren't all. This is actually just the beginning of what we are endeavoring to have out here for you. Healthcare and life science. being able to show repeating sections in a list view. That's things that could be applied across healthcare, or it could be applied potentially across safety. For example, so being able to do different things as well, sending a text via workflow. So that's actually something that's important. For example, say you have, a workflow that's monitoring a server. And so the server does something, one of the web front ends goes down, and it creates a log. That log then gets run into a workflow. That workflow then sends an email out to users, or to potentially the server admin, letting them know, hey, you're on duty tonight. You need to go in and check the server, make sure the server's up and running at least by the morning. So those are examples of assets again that can be used. And I'll actually let's click on a different one. Assets that can be used to showcase, what that is, and then you can actually find the asset, download it, and then run straight from there. So really good, really cool. That is the Nintex Exchange sneak peek preview. We're going to kind of go back into our normally scheduled programming. No, just kidding. But that was a quick preview of what we are endeavoring to build out. It is almost there. We're going through a few more changes. Just wrapped up the Exchange beta. So really glad to have all the people that were part of that. Thank you so very much for that, for helping, for giving us feedback, insight, ideas, suggestions. All those things were very helpful, and we were thankful for that, and we're rolling a lot of that in. But the important piece of this is for the community, and it's designed. We're building this with the community in mind, and that's something that I definitely want everyone to be aware of, and also know that this isn't the end. This is just the beginning. So if you have assets, if you're a user or a customer or a partner, and you created things with Nintex, if you've like I said, whether it's a form, or it could be a form control, or a custom action that does something that calls out to a different service like Salesforce or DocuSign, or it could be Dynamics or something of that nature, and you created something, share it. Let other people know, hey, I've done this. It's kind of the pride thing of, hey, I've done this really cool thing, and I want other people to know about it. I'm actually going to give you an example of one that is out here. Let's see if I can do this. So create parent, I think. Nope, not the one I wanted. I'll have to find it, but there's an example of one. I actually created one out here that was being used, and it was around creating parent-child relationships, and the amount of modifications to the one solution was phenomenal. It was like awesome to see people taking it, tweaking it, trying to do something different. Hey, have you tried this in the repeating section? Have you done this? Have you put this in there, etc.? And that's the purpose, is that, you know what, you may not have to start it off, but you can actually take it and modify it. And hey, if I shaved off 3 hours of your time, why not? If someone else develops something and all you got to do is tweak it, add another action in there, and you're complete, why not? So it's those type of thoughts about the Exchange that we're hoping to kind of push and promote, and looks really good, and it's I'm excited about it. I can't wait for it to launch and go live. So definitely stay tuned. I'll be doing another walkthrough as we get all the assets and things in there, and do a couple more changes. But for the most part, we're ready to roll with it, and I'm really excited to get this out into the hands of the community as well. So with that being said, let's get back into some questions really quick. And we have a few more minutes. I wanted to walk through one of these because I saw something on here. There's a couple of questions, and I wanted to walk through one. Let's see if I can do that. So, all right, let's go through another question. So this question is, one email with all modified items in 3 lists. Let's see if I can find my, where is it? Here we go. So let's just use Hangout Daniel again for this one. But he wants one email with all modified items in 3 lists. So I have 3 different lists here, and let's see if I can actually pull this off. This is off the cuff, so bear with me. If I do stumble around, it's not because I don't know what I'm doing. It's because I know what I'm doing, and I'm actually creating. And this is the whole idea of empowering users to build off of build things. So let's actually create a new one, and ideally here we want to query a list. And the reason why we're wanting to query a list is we want to collect that information. So I can choose child list, and I want to select all items when the following is true. I want to select an item. Oop, do I not have any items on there? Oh, it did pull. Select when, let's see here, modified is equal to, I believe I can do this. I cannot do that. What I can do, so I was going to actually do today, but I can't just type in today because today doesn't have any context. So I can actually do this based on when the, I thought I could do that. The initiate a run item property current date. That's the date, but that's not the date I want. I have to create a date. Why not? So create a variable, and it's called today. And this is going to be a date. And I'm going to actually cancel that, and I'm going to say this. Here's a reason why. I can create a variable here, and it gives me a little bit more flexibility on the creation of that. Today's date. And I want this to be a date. The reason why I did it this way, hey, it didn't give me that prompt. I was looking for a prompt that allows me to set, oh, I'm actually doing it incorrectly. I apologize. I was doing it incorrectly. I have to set the date using the set variable. Again, one of those things where you know what you're doing, you just got to remember how you do it all. So I'm going to, it didn't save that because I didn't save it. Why not? All right, today's date, and this will be a date, and I'm going to set the value, use date when action is executed. So it's going to execute and store that value. Otherwise, I can actually set it to a day as well. But this is usually set in stone, and you don't want to do it that way unless you have to. I could do today, and it does that, but again, that's not what you really want. So I'm going to actually set this to use the day when the action is done, or run, or whatever. I'm going to query a list, and I'm going to do modified equals to that workflow variable, today's date. So grab anything that is less than or equal to that date. Awesome, right? And don't really need to store anything, maximum number of rows. And I'm going to output, separate output per column. I could do that. I want to say give me the title and output to title, create. And let's see here, add another column. If I want to, I can say give me, let's see here, class, because I actually have no idea what I created on that list. I just grabbed one really out the blue. Class, let's try that. And result count, I can actually count that. I can grab that. That'll be a number and do that. So save. So I can actually run this. I'm going to log this history so that we can actually see this. Output it out really quickly. Ideally, if you can do it right on one, you can then do it right on more than one. So we're going to do this day. Make sure this actually give me the date, and then give me the title really quickly. Class, and give me the count. This is actually a lot of fun. All right, count. So save, and let's do settings. We always need to do settings. This is called Hangout Daniel test. Why not? Daniel's actually going to be famous today. Start manually. Let's start manually and publish. Publish. So this is going to run. But what this is going to allow us to do is give us the ability to run it on. So we're running on one list, but it's actually capturing data from another list, the child list. So I need to go and make sure the child list actually has some items on it. So let's look at that really quick, because I actually don't remember where the child list is. Parent list, child list, child list. Child list has 3 items. All right, so we can at least validate that, right? Cool. So let's close that out and let's create a new item here because we need an item to run against. So this is going to be test list date. I actually could have set it to this date. That is actually interesting. I'm going to set this date just so we know that it's not using this one. Set that in the future. Was it awesome? Yes, it was awesome. Attendees for right now, I'll just do somebody that I know is in here. Value lookup and hyperlink nintex.com. Why not? And do nintex.com since I created a bunch of stuff that I had to fill in. Alrighty. Oh, wait, what happened? Really? HTTP, maybe? Awesome. All right, so I want to start that workflow. So I'll come here because I chose to do it manually. You don't have to. You could have did it on automatic, but I chose to do it manually, so I manually picked up that workflow. And again, that workflow is going out and it's going to query the child list, and it should bring back the results. So it should say that there's a count of 3, and it should actually pull back the titles into a collection variable, and then pull back the classes into another collection variable. Look at there. So based on today's date, it pulled back SharePoint, Nintex Workflow, and SharePoint Dev as classes. The count is 3. So it actually did exactly what we wanted to do. So, and we can validate. There you go. There you go. Cool, right? This is awesome. So let's continue building on this. Let's see here. I want to do this because I'm going to open this up in a separate window so we can continue kicking this off. So let's go back to the question really quick before we do all of that and validate it. So how to create one email with all items in one and or 3 lists that were modified. Ooh, with all items in one from 3 lists that were modified that day. Okay. So modify that day. So I can come here. So we know we can grab the date for modified by, and we can do that. So I can actually come out here and say SharePoint is awesome because everything is awesome, and say it now has a modified by date of today. I can come back to the workflow and actually say I want to query where it is equal to the variable today. So when this runs, give me everything that was modified today. I can do that. Now let's actually duplicate this. If I can, almost had it. I'm going to duplicate this. I'm not using the right browser. This thing is very finicky. I'll just do it the easy way and query another one. So query lists. You can actually duplicate this if you wanted to. What I will do is actually do this parallel block. Why not? Always makes it fun. So I'm going to query another list. And for kicks and grins, I'm going to query the parent list. Same thing. Show me where modified by, not modified by, is equal to workflow context, because I can use the same one again, today's date. And I'm going to separate this, and I have no idea what's out there. So title. I can't reuse these because these are already being pulled. So I'm going to call these parent title. So you have to create new collections if you're doing it this way. Otherwise, you could just add to another collection, but that is a little bit complicated for a beginner course. In child class, let's just actually see if we can pull something different. Actually, we should be able to do that because this should run differently as well. With property. So it's actually giving me the lookup field that I have, and then I can select from the lookup field what I want. How cool is that? And I'm going to create another one, and this is going to be called parent class. This is probably not the best example of data, but again, ideally, we just want to show that we can do this, right? Parent count. So there. So we're going to query list. We're going to query child list, and we're going to query parent list. And We then need to update log to history. Let's see if we can do this. Build string. I think this will be a little bit easier to do. So the string, I can do parent count. So this is the fun part of this, parent count, and then give me parent class and parent title. It's not necessarily in the right order, but you'll get the point. Title, and I can actually do this as child count. So again, this is just going to show everything out here, right? And child. Ooh, this actually may not work because I remember that strings just concatenate everything. But we're just going to do this anyway. So new query. I don't think this is what I want to do based on some things that I've seen before. Text save. And we're going to store that here as well. Actually, let's put this in the top, in the front, and see what happens. Again, not the cleanest, but hey, it's just a simple. So we're going to run that, and we're going to rerun it on here. Let me make sure that parent actually has something in it. I'm assuming it does. Parent list has 5 items. Okay, good. So not too bad, not too shabby there. So let's rerun that workflow again on this. So workflows, we can rerun it. So we see that completed successfully. So it should create a new instance on it. Give it a second. Advanced workflows, not started. Give it another second. So there's some throttling going on within SharePoint. Not a bad idea to have. Awesome. So it outputted so we can see that it did log the history. Whoa, parent class. Oh, anyone know why? I know why, because I changed the value of my query. So let's go back to the query again, and let's just do this as less than or equal to, save, because I didn't do any changes today, so it wouldn't show anything today. Save and publish again. But you can see that we're starting to build. Again, the idea is to do 1 successful before you try to do 3. Take that information and replicate it over to your second and your third one, and you'll be able to grab that. And what we're also doing here is we're showing that if you can grab it in a string, you can then put that inside of an email, you can then put it inside of a document, you can do a whole lot of other things with it that you normally wouldn't be able to do, because obviously it would be separate data. So let's just pull this in one more time to see real data in there. I'm going to start this one, give it a second to run, and let's go check. Patience is a good thing sometimes. It's not started. Of course it's not started. Well, still not started. All right, we'll give it a couple seconds. Oh, completed. That was quick. There you go. So here we go. So it didn't cut, it cut off some things. So that's something that we would definitely have to work with. But you can see there it's grabbing the parent. So it's actually querying correctly and it's displaying information correctly. We would then need to just figure out how do we get it to display. And there's a limitation on the history of what displays out as far as characters. But inside of your email or whatever, you can actually present that in a better format. So with that, I will upload this. That was actually some good information Capel actually did present. So I will support that with what I have and get that going to update that one. But Thank you all for attending. I'm going to end just a little shy of our 10 o'clock mark here. But thank you all for attending. Thanks for watching. Really excited about doing some of the stuff that we have going in the community. And also just looking at how do we solve some things? How do we build things together? Actually, why not? I'll actually take this asset, the workflow that I just created, along with it, I'll package it up and actually create it as an asset on Exchange, and I'll tag it so people can use it. Huh. Eating my own dog food, as I say. But thanks again for watching, for attending. Looking forward to just being a part of the community, from seeing what happens with the Exchange when it launches and what you all use it for. So if you have any questions about the Hangout, about Exchange, or anything Nintex, you can tweet me at eharris04, or you can email me either on the community or here as well, in Google. And I look forward to seeing you all next time on the Nintex Hangout. Have a great day.